Kids aren't in the room, so that's good.
I can swear today. All right, fair enough.
You can't swear. You cannot.
Hello, everybody. This is Jake Stenziano, host of the Wheelbarrow Properties Podcast, here with my co-host, the multifamily mentor, the coach, the chef, the father, six, the best-selling author, the G-Daddy, Gino Barber. Gino, how's it going?
Mr. Stenziano, the kids are not in the room right now. They're all out. I'm doing good. I just got to make a few announcements today. We've got so many students doing deals, Jake. Let me run this down to you. We've got Larry Fierro, refi and roll, Jake, talking about how to get into multifamily, refi and roll. We've got Benoit and Jamie, 22-unit LOI. We got Colin Schwartz. Remember Colin Schwartz, the VIP last year? He's got 6 deals, bro. An 11-unit, 12-unit, 14-unit, 80 units plus. You know Jacob Anderson, Abraham Anderson's brother, 57-unit deal. He's closing in May. We have Ryan. Remember Ryan? I sat down with Ryan. I said, Ryan, you got to stop driving trucks cross country, bro. It's killing you. Get into multifamily. Well, he went backdoor. You know what he did? He became a broker in Jacksonville, closed on a 120-unit deal. He's got his first 100K check, and he's sourcing deals right now. So there's so many ways to get into multifamily, and I think it's one of the best vehicles to get from point A to point B, become financially free. After saying all that, Mr. Stenziano, how you doing, bro?
Always making it happen, big man. Today's guest is Cole Hatter. Cole is an entrepreneur, speaker, author, investor, and founder of the Thrive Make Money Matter event. So without further ado, Cole, welcome to the show.
What's up, guys? Dude, congrats on all those success stories. You know, somebody once told me don't measure a man off of his own success, but the success that he can instill in others. And so what a powerful way to start your show. And pretty soon I'll be on that list of people that came across your path that's closing on some gangster properties and refi and rolling it and just living the dream like you guys are.
Dude, that's you know, when you get to be my age, I'm a little bit older than you. It's not about you anymore. If you can read the Bob Burg, you start having kids, and you're like, there's got to be something bigger or better than me. And that's what I call the dopamine effect. I'm sort of addicted to helping people now. I don't know if it's a good thing or a bad thing, but every time somebody sends me an email says, "Hey, you help somebody out, I help you out. You know, your podcast had me get." That's freaking addictive. So do it again and again and again. It gets to be a lot of fun. And isn't life just about me? It's about having fun, I think, and having those connections in life and getting on the call with someone as powerful as you and intelligent as you. That makes my freaking week, to be honest with you. So that, you know, the ability to do that and help others, it's what's, you know, driving Jake and Gino and what's driving us to do this stuff, you know?
Yeah, I see that in a lot of my mentors that everybody, it's not necessarily a number. It's not like you become quote unquote rich enough that you transition into more legacy wealth, right? Than actual tangible assets. But it seems like when I'm being mentored by guys like you who are experiencing tremendous success, there becomes a day in your career where chasing more units is fun, but creating success in others is the fulfillment. It's like the driving, it's the why. And so, it's cool. And in my own way, through the Thrive community and things like that, I've had a taste of finding people who were kind of like your truck driver in a career that's literally killing them, right? Mm-hmm. And then just giving them some financial literacy, just helping them think differently than they're taught to go to school, get good grades, and go get a job and work until you die and hopefully retire in poverty. And just maybe nudging them in a different direction and encouraging them and then seeing them go. So it's definitely a rewarding industry to be a part of sharing knowledge with people that could change your life if they use it.
That's awesome. So how did you get into the space? You started with single family homes, correct?
Yeah. So even prior to that, growing up, you know, God put in my heart to want to help people. And so I started maybe 13, 14 years old with all my life wisdom at that point and all of my experience, started trying to pick a career where I felt that I'd be able to help people. I grew up very involved in my church. And at that age, the things that I enjoyed doing most was when my parents would take me on like weekend missions trips with our church. And so I thought about being a doctor. I thought about joining our military, being a police officer. I ended up becoming a firefighter, and I was a firefighter for 2 years. Everything was great. And I was living the dream. I was helping people, playing with fire, saving lives and getting paid for it. So it was all good. And then I actually got in a really bad car accident where I got ejected at about 80 miles an hour. And I was so hurt, I had to be airlifted from the side of the freeway to the hospital because I wouldn't have survived in an ambulance. I had a traumatic brain injury and some spinal injuries. So I was in a wheelchair for a while. And obviously you can't be a firefighter from a wheelchair. So that's where my career direction shifted to get into real estate. By coincidence, as I was rehabbing, I would go to physical therapy, but then I would have to practice walking. Like literally it was a homework assignment to take my little walker out there and practice walking to get my legs strong. And couple doors down from my parents, there was this younger couple. I think they had like a 7 and 8-year-old boy, and they were always around. They had freedom, and yeah, they had the house and the cars and all that, but they were always around. And so one day I ended up asking the wife what she did, and she told me she was a realtor. And my wife always accuses me of having no filter, and it's true. So the next question I asked is, well, how much money did you make last year? And she told me she'd made over $100,000 as a stay-at-home mom, part-time realtor. As an entry-level firefighter, I was making $42,000 a year. So I was like, holy cow. My goal was within my 20s to break the 6-figure mark with the department. Here she was, a stay-at-home mom, homeschooling, doing a listing a few times. And I live in Orange County, California. So contextually, you only got to do maybe 5 a year to break the 6-figure mark, getting a 2.5–3% commission. So I decided that's the life for me. I did not become a stay-at-home mom, but I did become a realtor. And I learned pretty darn quickly there's a huge difference between commissions and profits. So I hung up the license and became an investor in the residential space and have never looked back. That was 14 years ago. So my dad and I own a real estate investment business to this day. We have actively 5 flips we're doing here in the Southern California market. And my game plan shifted a few years back where all I want to do is take my active income from my fix and flip business and the other businesses I own, like Thrive that we talked about, and my digital marketing agency, and roll, pay for my lifestyle, pay my taxes, pay my, payroll and employees, but take the extras and roll it into multifamily apartments. And, I tried my hand in multifamily in 2009. Had no idea what I was doing, met the wrong person, and ended up losing $170,000. The guy that was managing that deal ended up going to prison for 5 years. And so I was so, what would you call it? I just had such a bad experience. I swore it off out of my ignorance. I was still in my 20s, and that was not money I could afford to lose. It was everything I had. And again, it was because A, I had no education, no idea what I was doing, and B, trusted somebody without doing any due diligence. Because in 2009, my fix and flip business was burning to the ground because we were in a recession. So I was vulnerable and just basically gave this guy who didn't actually know what he was doing money, and as a result lost it. So then I swore off multifamily and said, won't do that again. I'll stick with what I know. And at my cost myself a tremendous amount of opportunity until finally, probably about, 18, 20 months ago, I was like, all right, everybody I know that's doing house flipping is moderately rich. Everyone I know that's buying apartment buildings is wealthy, and their wealth isn't going to go away. If I stop flipping houses, I stop making money. If I buy an apartment building and manage it well, manage right, I'm going to collect passive income for life. And so, becoming a father of 2 little girls, that residual or passive income is way more attractive to me than the active income. So that was just a 14-year journey condensed down into a couple of minutes. But that's kind of what got me to where I am today, of being in the industry of real estate and then now being way more excited about apartment buildings and houses.
Cool. Hold on, Gino, I got a question for you because the quote that I'm looking for right now. The man with the money. What is that one?
The man with the money meets with the man with the experience, and the man with the experience gets the money, and the man with the money gets the experience. So that's happened to me. It's happened to Cole.
But even Gino himself had a mobile home park deal. Gino, do you want to share that a little bit? Because
back it's the same thing. Right? It was a little bit of ego. I had a little extra money. It was about 10, 11 years ago. The deal wasn't bad. It's just that I wasn't educated on the space. I wish I was. I probably have 2,000 mobile home park spaces. It's an awesome niche. I just didn't know what I was doing. I gave it to a guy, and it's the same thing. The guy's a dirtbag, but it wasn't. I take full responsibility for that because I didn't do due diligence. Due diligence are the 2 of the most important words on the planet. And if you want to become responsible in life, that's the only way you're going to become happy and successful in life, is take the responsibility. I'm not going to run around and say it was his fault. It was ultimately my fault because I took my money and put it into somebody that I didn't know, that I didn't trust. I didn't know the deal, and it went sideways like Cole's did. So,
But that's why we created the framework: buy right, manage right, and finance right, to give people the parameters that they need to succeed. And I think that's the most powerful part about Wheelbarrow Profits.
Cole, let me go back to, when you got into that accident. I need to ask this question. Did you ever, because nothing like that has ever happened to me traumatically. I've had crappy stuff, but nothing. Did you ever say to yourself, why me? Did it ever go back to say, why me?
Yeah, So, I mean, it's a bigger story. So in that accident, my best friend passed away and I survived. So not only did I have the grief of losing my best friend, I had the guilt of surviving. There were 3 of us in that car accident. 2 of us made it. 1 of us didn't. The other survivor of the accident, Matt, he and I, losing Steve, we were crushed. 66 days later, Matt and I were in an accident and he didn't survive. So I was in 2 accidents, 66 days apart with my 2 best friends. The first one I lost Steve. Matt and I survived. The second one I lost Matt. So it was a really bad time for me. I was really self-destructive because of the guilt. The grief of losing my two best friends sucked. The guilt of being the only survivor twice and nobody's left and just me, I didn't know how to process that. And so I went through a very, very ugly phase of blaming myself, of blaming God, of blaming everybody. And then I remember it perfectly. So I lost Steve on September 10th. I lost Matt on November 14th. And I'll never forget, it was December 18th, where I finally had my aha moment and realized that being a victim and feeling sorry for myself and making stupid decisions that I was making at that time was no way to honor their lives. I couldn't do anything to get them back. I have no idea why I was given time that they weren't, but I did decide that with the time I had left, I had to make it matter. And that being a victim of feeling sorry to myself, a victim of circumstances, and neither accident was our fault. The car accident, we were in somebody's blind spot. They didn't check. So they merged into our lane and their back left connected to our front right. And then the second accident, we actually fell into a mine shaft, and the company that dug the mine shaft didn't put up a sign, didn't put up a fence, and didn't cover it. So it was even worse that it wasn't like we were being idiots. They were just two accidents from someone else's carelessness. And so, so it was a rough time, but then I realized that, with what I believe I'm going to see them again, and I'm going to be face to face with my creator, and I'm going to have to account for the decisions I made with the circumstances I was given, some on my own doing and some, not with my own doing. And that I wanted to be able to make them proud to say, hey, with the time I was given that you weren't, I made it matter. I had a beautiful family. I had beautiful little girls that I poured my soul into. I did well in business, and I gave back, and I was generous, and, I changed lives for you guys. So as soon as I figured out how to take my grief and make it motivating, my whole life changed. And, there's one other word on that too, Gino. You said that you blame yourself for the guy that you gave the money to for the mobile home parks. I blamed the guy that took my money and went to prison, because, he went to prison for 5 years for what he did to us. It made me feel a little bit better, but it didn't give me my money back. As soon as I learned to mature, to not be a victim and blame others, but take responsibility, it gave me power back. And so I think that's a huge takeaway for the listener of what you heard Gino say, of what I had to learn the hard way. When you're a victim, you have no control. It's everybody doing things to you. But when you decide to own it and say, you know what, like Gino did, hey, that guy wasn't the best person, but it was Gino taking responsibility that he didn't do proper due diligence on the individual. As soon as you stop pointing fingers and start pointing thumbs and say, like, I will never do business with strangers again, it gives you the power to make change going forward. And I think that was one of the biggest life lessons I've ever had, is to own everything, good and bad, and to find my responsibility in all of it so that I have the power to do something different going forward.
Cole, I'm going to share something with you too. So I've got an Italian mom, right? And I lost the money, and she harps to this day on this $170,000. But Mom, I refied $9 million. We've gotten, but you lost this. I said, but if you happened in the past, you're never going to go to the future. If I had worried about that, my biggest thing was life coaching school. And I went to life coaching school, and I worked on my why, and I worked on my how, and I worked on my limiting beliefs and my energy blocks and all that. That was transformational part of my life, because I was stuck in the rut in a full-time job. So I love sharing that with the listeners all the time, because don't be around those people. They're going to constantly bring you back. My mom didn't know I had 10 apartments in Tennessee until we had 200 units, until I was basically telling her I was leaving the restaurant. And she was shocked. She goes, but how did it happen? I said, how it happened was I forgot about the 170 grand that I lost, and I focused on what I needed to do. So I just to harp on what you just said, it's totally.
Wait a minute, yours was 170 also?
Yeah, it was 170.
That's how much mine. No way. What are the chances?
Yeah, dude, I remember that, because it was hard-earned money. You know how many pizzas I got to make 170 grand? Dude? That's a lot of money. Now Jake laughs. We're going to do a refi next week. We're getting 200 grand each. It's like, damn, I had to be in the kitchen for over a year doing that crap. So it really hurt. And I used to call the guy Maserati Mike, because he was driving around a Maserati. That should have always told me he's living in a $250,000 house, but he's driving a Maserati. That should have the telltale sign right there. But money's loose, and you think, hey, you know what? I'm not going to do anything. And that's the misconception. It can be passive, but it's not going to be truly passive. There has to be somebody at the gatekeeper watching the money. So let's jump into Thrive. Why did you set up Thrive? It seems like your whole, compilation of your life stories just made you come onto this seminal moment that you were talking about. You want to really help others and give back. What is the theme behind Thrive, and why did you start it?
Yeah, so Thrive is like the physical manifestation of my life experience. And so fast forward a few years, and my business completely collapsed in the recession because I didn't know what I was doing. I had phenomenal success from 2005, from 2008. Do you know why? Real estate was exploding. when I would flip a house, the buyer was stated income 0% down. Like, it was so easy to sell houses. I thought I was like God's gift to the world. I was like, geesh, I was making $42,000 a year as a firefighter. I'm making $100,000 a flip. Why do these idiots out there have jobs? And then I learned the hard way. So by 2010, I had basically lost everything. My girlfriend at the time also broke up with me on Cinco de Mayo, which is really messed up. But I'll close that loop. I ended up marrying that girl. Thank you very much. So I got her back. That's my wife. But at the time, she broke up with me because I still had emotional baggage from losing Steve and Matt. Long story short, I ended up in Mexico as a missionary. I turned my back on business. My girlfriend had dumped me. I'm single. I said, screw it. And I moved to Ensenada, Mexico, which is about 2 hours south of the San Diego border. I live about 2 hours north of the San Diego border. So it's a 4.5, 5 hour drive to get down there. And I was building houses for homeless families with this nonprofit organization. I ended up starting my own orphanage, which I have to this day. I have 23 orphans in my orphanage in Ensenada. And I ran out of money. I was living off what little bit of savings I had. And although I had lost everything in business, I probably had $11,000 to my name, which in Mexico, that lasted a while. But then I ran out and I realized, okay, I need to go back to America because at this time I maybe had 11 kids in the orphanage and I can't take care of myself. I can't take care of them. So I got to go back to America and start a nonprofit to go raise money to support these kids. But the entrepreneur in me is like, man, I don't want to find really successful guys like Jake and Gino and just ask them out of charity to give me money. It's way easier to sell them something. So the entrepreneur in me is like, I just got to start a business where I'm selling stuff that has enough margin that I'll be able to make my living and support my orphanage. And right at that time, this was 2011, the spring of 2011, Tom's Shoes was taking off. And I don't know if you guys are familiar with that brand, but in that season, for every pair of shoes they sold, they gave a pair away. Mm-hmm. And it completely changed my life. I was like, dude, this isn't a nonprofit, but it's not a traditional for-profit. It's something in the middle. And I ended up coming up with the term for purpose. Blake Mikowski, the founder of Tom's, is worth $350 million. He's certainly not running a charity. But at the same time, he's giving away millions and millions of pairs of shoes to people and children in third world countries that don't have access to shoes and they're completely poor. And I was like, I'm going to start businesses like that where I'm making money unapologetically and guilt-free, living my dream life because every one of my businesses, as it makes money, it makes an impact. So then I transitioned back to America. I still had my orphanage. A pastor and his wife moved in to take care of the kids full time. And they still live there to this day, 7 years later. And I came back to America. I restarted my real estate investment business and started a few others. And it was all around what I call a for-purpose business model where you don't just make money, you give back. And when Jake introduced me, he said the name of the event is Thrive, Make Money Matter. And what make money matter means is don't just make money, make it matter. You know, don't just go get rich and be a dick about it. Like, go make money and make a difference with it, right? Because what I always say is that each of our funerals, and you guys are super successful guys, they'll probably comment on your work ethic and that you did well in business, but nobody cares about the square foot in your homes that you live in, the cars that you drive, or the vacations you take. The only thing anyone's going to share about us at our funerals are the meaningful impact we made with the resources we had available and the time that we were given. And so I'm just committed on making that impact as big as I could. Long story short, my network started expanding, and people like podcasts like yours, like my buddy Lewis Howes and John Lee Dumas and a few others who have big, big shows, asked me to come on their podcasts to talk about how I was running my businesses. And then all of a sudden the social media started blowing up. And I started getting DMs from people all over the world saying, teach me how to do this, teach me how to do this. Like, I love my business, but it's not fulfilling me emotionally. I want to help people with my business. So my wife and I said, screw it. Let's just do a one conference, one time, 3 days, bring in some speakers and teach this business model. We ended up getting Gary Vaynerchuk, Robert Herjavec from Shark Tank, and like just absolute business legends to come and speak at that event. And that was Thrive #1 in 2015. And it exploded since then. So people say, why did you start Thrive? It was kind of an accident. It was just in my own progress as a man, creating businesses to feed my orphans. It became a popular topic. People asked me to teach them. And now we've got this massive event with thousands of people, and it's become an entire movement. And so, but to your original question, it's just a result of my life and the decisions that I had made. And, you know, they say money can't buy happiness. Well, first of all, poverty can't buy anything. But money can't buy happiness, I think, is totally true. You're not going to find it in Nordstrom's. I just challenged somebody to go feed a starving child. Take money out of your wallet, feed a starving child, and tell me you feel worse and that you don't feel happy. Money can totally buy happiness. As a matter of fact, this Thursday, so 3 days from today as we're recording this, we have 67 volunteers. We rented 10 vans, and we're going to go up to a homeless community here in Orange County. We're going to feed the homeless for the day. We're going to play baseball and just treat them like peers. We're going to set up baseball games and teams and all that whole deal for the whole day. So anybody out there that thinks money can't buy happiness, you're just shopping in the wrong spot. And that's the message I feel.
So many people get stuck though, where they're like, oh, like the money is the root of all evil and all this stuff. But it's like, you can't help others if you don't have the means to do it. And I think that's a huge disconnect for a lot of folks out there.
Totally. And most people misquote the Bible. It's the love of money is the root of all evil. So for me, I don't let my wealth own me. I own my wealth. And, I get to do really cool things with it. So it's not a topic for everybody. There are still the super conservative types that say, nope, you should live in poverty. Povertiness is godliness. And I just say, cool. Well, for those that are super, super religious, Jesus's entire ministry was funded mostly by women that were donating money because they had the money to give. So I just feel like that's my position in the world, is to do well financially, to then be able to, because I'm being blessed others. And so that's my mission, and it is what it is.
So Jake, there's a couple quotes here that I have from one of my priests. He said to me, if there's no margin, there's no mission. Right. So if you can't make any money, you're not going to be able to put on a mission. And reading Mrs. Seneca over there, he says, profit is the fuel. It's not the destination. So most people are always thinking about profit as that's the end goal. And for Jake and Gino, I don't want Jake to hear this, but it's not the end goal for me to sign up students. The end goal for me is to get students to do deals. And then if I can think of them doing deals, we'll sign up more students. It's like a revolving loop. And unfortunately, for most people who aren't financially free, they don't understand that once you become financially free, that's when you're playing with house money. You can do whatever you want. If you want to go to work. And the funny thing that I found, Cole, is once you become financially free and you're a hard worker, you want to work even more, because now you can do what you want, really. And all of a sudden you have all these other opportunities, and people don't understand that. They think they're going to, hang out, go do a podcast, go to the beach. That crap gets played out after a couple of days. Let me tell you something. Going to the beach is nice. I live near the beach. I've been there 4 times in the last day. It's okay. But then I've got to come back and I want to help people out. So I think everyone needs to focus on financial freedom, needs to focus on becoming financially free, because then you can start to thrive. Then you can start to really make money matter. And as my boy Stenziano likes to say, start stacking it up with those multiple streams of revenue. Then your life starts to really, take off. You can really enjoy yourself. That makes sense?
Totally. And my evolution as an entrepreneur has brought me to that conclusion, which is like us meeting each other wasn't an accident. I've been pursuing the multifamily world for a long time because I'm not financially free. I don't have to worry about money, but 96% of my income is transactional. I have to go speak at an event where I get a speaker fee. I got to flip a house where I make a few $100,000, because my dad and I, he's my business partner, we target the multi-million-dollar marketplace here in Orange County. So when we're doing flips, we're making $200,000, $300,000, $400,000 a flip. And so my bank account has plenty of money in it. But if I were for any reason to become incapacitated, if I die, my wife said, I always have to joke with her saying I have to try to be worth more alive than dead, because I have huge insurance policies and stuff. And if I'm working, she's fine. But if I get in a bad accident where I can't work and didn't die, she's screwed. And so although I don't have to worry about money, I am nowhere near financial freedom, because I have to work to make literally probably 96% of my income is transactional in the 4 businesses I own in 4 completely different industries. And that's cool. But if that 96% went away, the 4% that I get through my rental properties, et cetera, is not enough to sustain my lifestyle. So this is where I, as a father, my children being the big motivators, started leaning in heavy to multifamily, because it's like, hey man, the residential real estate market has been good to me, but I got to work for my dollars. And so again, financial freedom, I guess, is relative. I have no financial concerns, but I'm nowhere near financially free, because if I went on a 6-month vacation with you guys, you would make as much money or more while you're gone, and I would come back to 0 balances in my bank accounts. And so, I'm 34. I'm not old, but I've been working long enough and hard enough that I don't want to have to work like this the rest of my life. I want to right now start acquiring assets that pay me passively in bigger assets. Because again, I have a nice little rental home portfolio, but I think the best cash flow I get on any of my properties is the one I bought in Memphis, actually kind of near you, Jake, or in your neck of the woods, I should say. And we paid cash for it. And it cash flows me like $860 a month after taxes and insurance. I got to buy a whole heck of a lot of houses to become financially free, where a couple of apartment buildings that are value adds that are managed right, I could be financially free. So I just got to the point in my life where it's like, you know what? It's very risky that if I didn't die but couldn't work, my family would suffer. And I need to start building things that will pay my family and my children and my children's children forever and really create that legacy wealth. So this has been a journey I've been on, like I said, for about 18 months. And the reason that the three of us are getting to know each other is no coincidence. It's because I've been on a war path of getting in aligned with guys that can cut my learning curve, because I'm done donating $170,000 to the School of Hard Knocks to learn the hard way. I'd way rather align with guys who are where I want to be in the areas that I want to be in. And so that's it. As you're talking about financial freedom, it's like, I would love to go to the beach today, but I got to get back to work. And so,
but then when you get to that point, Cole, you can scale your life and literally double down with the things that you're great at. So you do and you do those and you go heavy on those. Like Gino, being on the show today, he might go to the beach today, get a little vitamin D3 to rejuice, but he's coming back and doing the things he's passionate about, because it's even to further drive the business, and he's enjoying it. He's having a blast. I think that's the key when you kind of get over that hump and you're really just jamming on the things that you love.
That's the work-life balance right there. There's no such thing as work-life balance. If you like your work, your life's going to be balanced. Because when I hated the restaurant, I wasn't happy. So I'd come home, I'd be pissed. I work 12 hours, I'd be pissed. Now I work 12 hours, I walk across the pool and I'm freaking happy and I'm engaged. So that myth out there is stupid. There's no such thing as work-life balance, because you're always going to want to work. And if I sit around for an hour or two, I'm bored. It's not a good thing.
Exactly.
So work-life balance comes from being.
Dude, I was chomping at the bit. He had me down there for 2 weeks seeing him in Florida. I was like, I got to get back, man. I was like, I had to get back in my rhythm, man. I love it. So.
I agree.
Right. And there's a lesson there as I'm thinking about too, because I enjoy the work that I'm doing also. Every business I own, I built with my own two hands, and they're all my dream businesses. My wife is my business partner in two of them. So I probably work easily 80 hours a week, and probably 7 days a week. And people are like, oh my gosh, that's so unhealthy. It's like, no, but you don't understand. What work is like is having a beer with my dad on one of our projects, talking to our contractors, to then leave to go out to lunch with my wife to talk about the next business. Like, I'm with people who I absolutely cherish, doing work I enjoy. So I think it's easy to then get distracted and not remember to go and buy assets, because work is not a grind for me. It's not commuting through traffic to a job I hate, to a boss I want to punch in the face. I'm living my dream. But I became aware that, like I was just saying, if I can't do this anymore, my family will suffer. So I think it's important for all the listeners. It's like, hey, if you're doing your dream job in your dream career or built your dream business and it doesn't feel like work, congratulations, you're in the minority. But at the same time, keep in mind that there will be a day where the work gets old, or heaven forbid, where you can't do the work, and you're sure as heck going to want to have picked up assets that will pay you the rest of your life along the way. So I think that's one of the reasons I've taken as long as I have to come full circle back to apartments, is because I really enjoy what my 9 to 5, quote unquote 9 to 5 looks like, and my 7 to 2 looks like, because I freaking love what I do. But I've done it at the cost of not avoiding, but just not going all in like I am now on acquiring as many units as I can.
It's so expensive though, Gino, to his point, because he's so transactionally based right now. You can still do this with your dad, but not get cut in half every deal you do. And I think that's one of the biggest challenges about being transactionally based, is that you give so much away. And Gino always likes to say, it's not what you make, it's what you keep. Gino, what you got?
It's the dopamine effect, though. I mean, the dopamine is that drug in your brain that's saying it's addicting. To do that transaction, get that quick hit, 50,000, 100,000 is real easy. I'm sorry, I didn't even say easy. It's really addicting to get to. But I always say the multifamily is like the farmer, right? My dad came here from Italy because he's a farmer. You have to plant the seed. You got to water the seed. You got to pay for the seed. $3,000 an acre, Jake. Cabbage. You go down here in St. Augustine. My friend, he's got 100 acres. $300,000 he's got to pay before he even gets anything in the ground. He puts it in the ground. 3 months, he's praying there's no frost. He's praying there's no hail. If he gets a crop, what happens to the crop prices? There's a lot. That's the entrepreneur right there. He's got to put it all out. So that's the mindset. You're going to get paid not on the front end, on the back end. When you're flipping a house, it might be a 3 or 4, 5, 6 month process. Whereas multifamily, it takes us 18 months to maybe 2 years to actually refi the property, get it stabilized, see that great cash flow coming in. So there's the other thing that people don't take into consideration. You can do it. It's just a longer time horizon, and just be aware of how your brain reacts.
View, man. It's all about the long view when it comes.
Does that make sense? Does that make sense, Cole?
Yeah, 100%, 100%. And I think some of us just come to that realization sooner than others. The reason that, again, in life, I'm relatively young. In business, I kind of feel old, because one of my businesses is a digital marketing agency where I work with e-com, where I've got like 18-year-old clients that make $200,000 a month because they're freaking selling widgets online. It's crazy. I'm like an old dog to them. But where I think I've picked up the wisdom of right now and not later, acquiring assets, is by just having mentors like you guys who are ahead of where I want to be in that category. And I think that's important for your listeners to choose who you're taking advice from carefully. And you can have mentorship. Like, there's probably a lot I could teach you guys about marketing. There's a lot you're teaching me already about multifamily apartment buildings. And so you never know who could be a mentor. Warren Buffett says every single person he meets, he learns something, what to do or not to do.
Which is more important.
An example of a waitress. And he said that a waitress came up and she didn't have a good attitude, and he learned how he doesn't want customer service to be done, right? So I think it's important for all of us listening to this podcast out there, wherever you are, of knowing who you should be listening to and picking and choosing mentors wisely. And when it comes to learning how to do real estate, you're going to want to learn from the people who are financially free in real estate. When you're learning about relationships, you want to learn from someone like my dad, who's been married to my mom for 51 years, and not the guy that's been married and divorced 10 times because he's just done it the most. And so, it's important to pick and choose your mentors wisely.
Jay, before Jake hits you up on the personal development questions, I had one question about Thrive. What have you learned from entrepreneurs? What's the one or two things that you see that goes through the entrepreneur mindset of all those really famous and popular people that you've interviewed?
So the speakers or the attendees?
I guess both. I mean, because you have some really powerful speakers up there, but I mean, the attendees are there, and I mean, your group of people are so successful. So I mean, what's the thread that you see amongst?
So I don't know what type of time we have, but I'm going to tell you a 2-minute story to answer that question.
Yeah, I'd love to hear.
What I have learned about having multi-millionaire, we're talking 9-figure net worth, and multi-billionaires come and speak at Thrive is they're no different than any of us, and we've heard this all the same. It might be like one of those jokes where it's like, hey, you had to be there for it to be funny. But we hear this all the time. They're literally no different. They're just thinking so much bigger than us and solving such bigger problems that it makes them money. And here's an example. A speaker that I've had at Thrive and who's coming back this year, his name is Naveen Jain. He's worth $8 billion. If you ever used Yahoo back in the day, right below the search bar, it said, powered by Intellis. He was the CEO and inventor of Intellis. So in the .com days, he went from immigrant from India who didn't speak English to being worth $8 billion, right? Fast forward, and there's this thing that happens in Seattle, Washington called the Sea Fair, where the Blue Angels come in, they do an air show over the lake. Everybody goes out and floats the lake on their boats. He happens to have a $30 million yacht that is parked on his $50 million mansion 2 doors down from Bill Gates in Medina, Washington. And so we get invited to his house. We have a really cool cocktail mixer. I'm the biggest loser there by far, which is exactly the type of party I want to go to. It's like, right. He's introduced me. He's like, oh, this is the inventor of Marvel. They own Marvel Studios, this, blah, blah, blah. It's like, what do you do? Oh, I flip houses. Like, I love it. And so we get on this guy's yacht, and this was before Thrive last year, and we had a promotional code to give people a $50 off discount that wasn't firing. People were trying to use it, and it wasn't working. So I excused myself from the party, went out on the bow of the boat to write an email to my team telling them how to fix it because they forgot to change the time. They created the code already expired, if that makes sense. And yes. I caught Naveen out there, and we kind of were embarrassed that we were both excusing ourselves to get some work done. Long story short, we were both on our phones, both sending an email on our iPhones, worked exactly as hard for exactly as many minutes. I asked him what he did, and without getting too into the details of his current business, he sells a product that helps study the microbiome in your gut to help figure out what you're doing to cause inflammation to try to prevent disease. And I said, what are you doing, Naveen? And he said that he was working with Blue Shield Blue Cross to get another 11 million people covered for his product, which sells for $400. So we're talking $40 million. He's like, what were you doing? And I was like, oh, I was fixing a
coupon
code for Thrive.
The coupon. It always comes back to the coupon code, man.
And then he just walked in there, and I just stopped for a second. I said, I worked exactly as hard as he did. I worked exactly as smart as he did. We were both emailing. We used exactly as much mental bandwidth, exactly as much time and effort. He just did something that's going to make him tens of millions of dollars. And I just did something that after it's been used will maybe make me $3,000 to $5,000. And that's why I'm worth 7 figures. And that's why he's worth, he's a billionaire, 10 figures, multiple, because he does that type of work. And so back to your original question, what I have learned from the speakers of Thrive, especially backstage when they're goofing off and they're just like all of us, except he is solving disease and getting insurance companies to cover 11,000 people, which will be worth tens of millions of dollars to him. And I'm trying to sell tickets to an event. I don't want to take away from Thrive. It's the best event in the world. And I'm solving a $50 coupon product. And so it might have been something that you had to be there for it to really resonate as deeply as it did. But that literally shifted my life to say, This is why Bill Gates and all of his neighbors are the richest people on earth, because they don't wake up and solve the type of problems most people are solving. They're so much higher, and that's why they make that type of money.
Dude, you hit the nail on the head with the single family home guys buying singles and doubles as opposed to the guy buying 300 units. It's the same process, right? We're servicing more tenants. We have 1,000, we almost have 50. We're going to 1,500 units. We have 1,500 tenants. We can give them renters insurance. We have cable contracts. We have laundry. We have multiple streams of revenue. It's the same concept. There's just a lot more zeros, but it's cool. It's hard for people to understand that, though, because when they're first starting out, they have those beliefs, well, I can't do it. It's too big for me. So we're here to dispel those beliefs. You don't have to start big. You can start small, but start in any capacity and start to scale up, because the bigger you can scale up, the more people you can serve, the more money you're going to make. I totally believe that.
I want to pound that point for a second, Gino, because you said it very fast. You have a flip, or you have a single family rental, or you have a large scale multifamily portfolio, and the multiple streams of revenue that come from that, from cable contracts, from cell phone contracts. It's just, you have laundry contracts. There's so many business streams coming in because of your scale that you can't even get your head wrapped around. And you talk about cost segregation, which I consider another stream as well, because it can completely wipe out your taxes if you're a real estate professional. It's insane. And it's just hard to, I got into multifamily for yield. I was like, I want something that's going to give me long-term yield. And I didn't know about all these other things that were going to creep up on me in the refi and roll. But that's why we're here, because guys, it's a sweet spot when you can get there if you take the time and tough it out. But hey, no more preaching for me. Let's take a quick time out to hear from our sponsor. Gino, I know a lot of our listeners are wanting to take their multifamily investing business to the next level. I know that you've been hard at work helping Jake and Gino students do just that using our framework. Can you explain to the listeners how they can get our help?
Guys, we've been hard at work growing our community of like-minded investors, and the results of our members has been nothing short of incredible. We're looking to grow this amazing group. What we're looking for is those who want to follow our proprietary framework that we've created: buy right, manage right, and finance right. Leverage our connections, education, and mentorship as ways to take your business to the next level.
So if you're interested in finding out more about how you can become a part of our amazing community, apply to work with us at jakeandgino.com/apply. All right, and we're back. Cole, the question I asked everybody on the show, that is, I feel the most important question, because it's something that we can change about ourselves and improve. What is your best habit for success? You've been a very successful guy. I love to get inside people's heads and understand what they do on a daily or weekly basis that's led to their success.
I think I'm going to say two, because they work hand in hand. And I learned this from being an athlete. So I don't know if this is supposed to be rapid fire or you want a real answer, but here we go.
We want the real thing.
We're not in a rush here.
Okay, cool. So when it comes to sports, I was a pretty gifted athlete, but I would never be the best on the team. And I learned early that if I out practiced and out hustled everyone else, I got better than the people who are naturally more gifted. There was a lot of people who would walk on the field better than me, so they would only put 80% in because they were better. Because I put 110% in, showed up first, left last, and outworked them, I became the best on the team. I'd get the captain and I'd get the MVP awards. Then I transitioned into being an entrepreneur, and I realized there's people out there that have advanced degrees that I don't. There's people out there that have higher IQs that I don't. There are people out there that were born into money, which I wasn't, and they have advantages over me. But the only thing that I could control 100% was work ethic. And I realized, oh my gosh, just like being an athlete, there are people who have advantages that I don't, and I can't control what I was born with as an IQ or what family I was born into that didn't have money or whatever it is. But I can certainly control my work ethic, and I'm just going to outwork everybody and beat them in not the field like for sports anymore, but in my industries. So one thing that I think has been a key for success to me is I just outwork everybody. I don't sit around on my phone playing on Facebook for 46 minutes and working for 14 and just think that I worked for an hour. I literally outwork everybody, number one. Like The Rock, who I think is a huge inspiration. I follow him on Instagram. He's always talking about being the hardest worker in the room. It's like, dude, I want to battle The Rock. Like, I want, maybe not in the gym, but as far as our careers are concerned, I want to sit right next to the guy and be like, I dare you to outwork me, right? And he's a huge inspiration for those of you that maybe aren't fans of him in movies. You should definitely follow his Instagram account because it's super cool. So number one, I learned early that if I outwork people who have advantages over me, I'll win. That's one thing that I've taken. I would say the second thing then is repetition. There's Napoleon Hill's 3 feet from gold. I don't ever stop. If I would have given up, my wife wouldn't have been my wife. She dumped me and I moved to Mexico, but I wasn't going to take no for an answer. And so it's not the old saying, like, get knocked down, get back up, right? Like, but I just don't stop. I just don't stop until I get my way, period. So I'm going to outwork everybody, and I just won't stop until I get my way. And like literally, I just won't stop until I get my way. And I don't get discouraged no matter how long it takes. And so, for that to be something applicable to the audience, the things that we can control is outworking our competition. So work harder, period. It's worth it. And then the other thing is, as far as repetition, if it's worth it, don't stop. Just keep going. And you'd be surprised at how when you were about to give up, but you gave it one more try, almost always that's the one when it works. And so I think those are the two things that have created one of the largest factors of the success that I've had.
Quick story, because it's just applicable because our folks are multifamily investors. Guys, it took Gino and I almost 2 years to get into our first deal. We had guys telling us we were crazy, you're never going to get into the business. And it was literally the same mentality that Cole just shared. We were relentless, and we just kept putting offers out there. Y'all are never going to do business down here. You're crazy. We had brokers kick us out of their offices. We didn't quit. And that's the thing people struggle with so much. 2 years feels like a long time, but when you're investing in a deal that can pay you for the rest of your life, it's a mentality shift. You got to take that mentality into it, because if it's going to pay you forever, then is it worth it to put the 2 years in to get it? And that's
right.
The thing.
But Jake, the important thing though is that I at least had clarity at that point. I didn't want to go back to what I was doing. So I was already working hard. So for everyone out there, you need to get some clarity in your life and figure out what you want to do, right? Because I didn't want to go back and work in the kitchen anymore, but so I wanted something else, and I knew multifamily was the thing to do. So that's why I didn't quit. So if you can find clarity and find out what you're doing, why you want to do it, it'll make you not want to quit. I'm sure Cole wanted to go back and help the orphanage out. I'm sure he wanted to grow his life. That was part of his why. So that's why he didn't quit. That's why he was tenacious, and that's why he ultimately succeeded. But I think if people can start off with that, and then, like Cole said, do work, do real work. Don't sit in front of Facebook. Don't fool around. Put in the time that is going to generate revenue, not put in time that you think it's busy, that you feel like you've done something, accomplished something. Focus on generating revenue. So
totally.
Cole, what about for the guy or gal trying to get in the first deal? Do you have any tips for them? Because it's like sometimes just getting over that hurdle in the beginning. Any tips for people that trying to get their first deal done?
Yeah. Somebody once taught me, it's not always asking the what, but the who. And so for the game of real estate, both residential and multifamily, it very much is a relationship game. And so a lot of people are looking for the what, the right marketing campaign, the right bandit sign or mailer, or whatever it is, the right this. And it might not always be the right what, but the right who. And so as you guys know, you're getting a lot of your deals from brokers, and those are relationships that you've built. So for the guy or gal out there that's trying to pick up their first 9 unit to 15 unit or whatever it is, and you're struggling to find that, whether it's door knocking or freaking putting out whatever it is, maybe start trying to find the right people. And so there are a lot of communities within the real estate landscape, whether it's RIA groups or whatever it is, or you two, for instance, coaching them on how to find the right deals. But it goes back to the old saying, it's not what you know, it's who you know. I don't agree with that at all. I think it's both. It's what you know with who you know that matters. And so I think it's important for them to be continually educating themselves, but also adding to their network. And so the first thing that came to mind, Jake, of the person that's trying to get their first deal, it might not be the next best marketing campaign or the right Facebook campaign or whatever it is. It might not be the what you need. It might be the who. It might need to be the broker that gets a pocket listing or an off-market deal that thinks to call you first because you took them out to that nice sushi dinner, treated them with respect, and they believed in you. And when this deal came across their desk, they called you first, and that's how you get in your first deal. It wasn't the what, it was the who.
I love that answer. I love that. What about a book recommendation? You read, you do Audible? Anything you've read lately?
Yeah, 100% How to Win Friends and Influence People. Dale Carnegie.
Yes. All right. Classic. What project are you excited about right now?
Thrive, as of recording this, is 6 weeks away. So that is my entire focus. That's our big project. We're going to have over 1,500 attendees this year, over 20 speakers, 3 days in Vegas. And then as soon as I wake up on Monday, June 3rd in Las Vegas, I am going 110% in on acquiring multifamily apartment buildings. So project one, let's do Thrive. Let's crush it. and Thrive In Sunday. It's in Vegas. And when I wake up and I look at the ceiling in my bedroom Monday morning, my new project is this. And again, it sounds convenient because we're on this call, but that's why we're on this call, is because I've been declaring this for about a year now. So that would be project number 2 is I want to beat you guys and as quickly as possible be like, I got one more unit than you guys now. Boom.
What about, ways for people to get more information on Thrive? Is there a website? What's the best way to find out more info?
Yeah, if you want to join us, I know that a couple of guys from your team are going to be there actually as one of our premier sponsors. And I was telling them that they got to convince you guys to come too. So maybe you'll see Jake and Gino out there, but they'll definitely have some branding. But go to attendthrive.com. That's for our event. They want to grab a ticket. And happy to do a promo code for you guys too. Let's do JAG for Jake and Gino. We'll take some out. It doesn't exist yet, but by the time this goes live, it will. So if they want to head to attendthrive.com and put JAG in the promo code, it will give them a good little discount. And then as far as me, just find me on social media at Cole Hatter. One word, no underscores, no dots, no periods, no numbers, nothing, just Cole Hatter.
What I love about this show is it all comes back to owning your outcomes. Gino, that is like the starting point for just getting your life in order. Don't you agree?
I do agree. There's a couple things that I like to do as we do the action steps. The first thing is, the reason why you need to go to Thrive is you need to be around an environment that is conducive to being successful. You become Jake and Gino, we're multifamily. If you want to get into that type of environment, there's another thing you need to do. You need to start identifying as an entrepreneur. So how do you do that? You surround yourself in that environment. You go to Thrive. You start networking with those types of people, and you start identifying as a successful entrepreneur, as someone who wants to do it. And what do entrepreneurs do? You start behaving like an entrepreneur. So that's really important. The environment and the identity is really important for you to become successful. So everyone on the call, you need to check out the event. One other thing, Jake, I like to leave everybody with is, think about why you want to make money. One thing that Cole said to me, he's going to stick with me for a long time. He says, money can't buy happiness, but poverty can't buy anything. And that is so damn true, because poverty does not build hospitals. It doesn't build the churches. It doesn't build schools. Money does that. So make your money. What does it make money matter? I mean, that is an awesome slogan. So why are you making the money? Not because, and everyone thinks that making money is going to solve their problems. Money only creates more problems. It might create better problems. It does create more problems. So figure out why you're making money. And once you do figure that out, make it matter.
Yeah, and I think it's all about the community that you surround yourself with. I know there's all those cliche statements out there, but really, if you surround yourself with good people, it's going to make a huge difference. Cole, anything else before we sign off?
No, man, I just appreciate you guys. And the one thing I didn't circle back around to that would be a good closing note is you said, what have I learned by doing Thrive from the speakers and the attendees? We heard what I learned from the speakers. What I learned from the attendees is they're just not thinking big enough. And I don't want that to be some cliche hallmark statement. Just think this through. They're thinking about trying to buy that duplex and not that 20 unit, which to my surprise, it's actually a lot of times easier to get commercial type financing for apartment buildings than it is to even buy your own primary residence. And that was the big thing that deterred me from getting started in multifamily, was I didn't think I'd qualify for a 234 unit apartment building for 17 million bucks or whatever it is, right? That you guys are picking up right now. I had no idea how different the arena of commercial financing for apartment buildings is. So the closing remarks for me would be, we heard why Naveen Jain is a billionaire. And you heard from me that these are regular dudes backstage, talking smack, having fun, just like they're the people that you are in your cigarette break at work with, except they happen to be worth hundreds of millions of dollars because they're thinking bigger and solving bigger problems. And the thing that I see in my attendees that I want to just grab them by the shoulders and shake them is that it's not even limiting beliefs. They're just not even thinking big enough. Like, they're limiting their beliefs in small things. Limit your beliefs in trying to accomplish like massive things, like buying 2,500 unit hotel room buildings or something like that. So I would just say, think bigger and solve bigger problems, because the bigger problems you solve, the more money there is always, period.
Amen. Bezos said it himself the other day. He gets paid to make 1 or 2 big decisions a day, and that's why he's the richest man. So
there you go.
I love it. Appreciate it, guys. Have a good rest of the day.
Bye, everybody. Thanks.